So, hello, everybody. Thank you for listening. This is the Arise Beautiful podcast. I am Anjanette Kroom, your host. I am a licensed mental health counselor. And here at Arise Beautiful, we talk about 5 topics: self, relationships, spirituality, service, school, and career. And we do it from a mental health point of view so that we can help you with your personal growth and development. So today I have a very special guest. I have Natasha, and she will be talking about the topic of spirituality. So I'm gonna allow her the opportunity to introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Natasha. My business is Het Heru Healing. I act as a herbalist. I'm an active spiritualist, a life coach, and a doula. I've been in business for about a year. And I started with just healing myself, the way I healed my mind, the way I healed my body from all of the trauma, and then how I connected to spirit and how it all kind of ties together. So that's kind of what I put out through Het Heru Healing.
Yes. I'm so glad to have you as a guest. She is a special guest because she is my sister, my real sister. And I've seen her growth through the years, and I'm just so proud of her. And I'm really glad to see the platform that she is creating. And so I am going to give her the opportunity to share with you guys her journey and how she was able to heal herself. And now she's sharing that knowledge with all of you guys. So, all right, sis. So tell me a little bit. We'll start with the basics. Like, tell me a little bit of how you got into this work.
So my grandfather was a spiritualist. I used to call him a philosopher, but he taught me all of this since a child, as far as like my African roots, slavery, who people were before slavery. And it's always been like a real interest of mine. I went through a lot of trauma growing up until I was about 25. And my world just kind of collapsed. And I think when I hit that last rock bottom, my spirit made a choice to keep going. And the moment I came back into going, I found spirituality. I first got into it through magic. So the magical arts like voodoo. I actually started in looking up like Wiccan and paganism. And then I ended up meeting a Jamaican root worker who mentored me for about a year and helped me just grow myself. It was really a mental health thing because she helped me find my truth. And once I found my truth, I was able to step into my power. And this is how we're literally here. This is how I grew into this.
Yes. So I've witnessed some of her journey, and like you can definitely see the difference as to, where you were and where you came from. And, you've mentioned some of those words that people tend to like shy away from, like voodoo and witch and all of that, because like we're conditioned to not really mess with that kind of stuff, right?
Demonize.
Yes, exactly. And so I too have been doing a lot of research into just spirituality and the way, like for me, the research is the way God presents himself to people, right? Like, and so I've been doing a whole lot of like just soul searching and research. And so for you, what would you say was like that moment where you were like, yes, this is for me. This is something that I can connect with?
The moment that I realized I have been doing this my whole life, how I would say stuff that I want and it just comes like my whole life. And then, people would always be like, oh, you just got the gift of gab, but no one else can do it. And I mean, even my mother's siblings, my older sister and my older brother, we're so vastly different. They're all like baffled. I have a GED. I have no high school diploma, no college education. I'm self-taught. And then that's when I was like, this is a thing, guys. And not to mention, I've seen spirits my whole life. So I was petrified of the dark until 26 years old.
Mm.
So once I found out, like, oh, this is a thing, there's a whole community of people who know I'm not crazy, guys. And from that point forward, it's been like I dove into it head first.
Oh, I love that. I love that. You know, one of the things that we talk about at Arise Beautiful is just this knowing self, and that self exploration. And part of that is your spiritual development and understanding, like, spirituality is not just, you know, are you Christian, are you Muslim, like the normal religions. You know, there are so many different other ways for you to connect spiritually, and spirituality and religiosity is not the same thing.
Oh,
It's not the same thing. And I love how you said that you know, the fact that you saw spirits all your life, that, you know, these things you were doing all your life that were a part of who you were, but it wasn't until you paused and really began to explore those out, accept and explore those parts of self
in that order.
yes, accept and explore those parts of self, that you began to realize that you have a beautiful gift, and that it's worth sharing with the world. And so, you know, one of the things that I always say to everybody is that who you are, the things that you've been through, the gifts that you have will make room for you in this world. No matter how weird or, you know, crazy they may seem, they're there for a reason. Okay.
I mean, I can say just on a personal basis, I feel like spirits, just like the world, should know this, because when I had, right before I got pregnant with my second child, I went to a mental institution because I was seeing things and I was hearing voices, right? So I did that, and I'm thinking, like, I'm crazy. This is early onset of schizophrenia. I have this in my family, right? So I did all of this healing, right? And I'm here now, and I say I'm a psychic medium. So one of that is clear audience. That's the ability to hear. And what happened was, we're so conditioned to believe this stuff is so far-fetched that they tell us we're crazy. I went through a whole mental institution, and now I flip that and I do that in my business, just learning how to listen. I like how you said the way God speaks to us, because that when I say spirit, that's what I mean. The God within us all, you know? So, and that's, like I said, that just that ideation of understanding, like, spirits, God talking to me, and I'm thinking I'm crazy. Just come and find a community, find these parts of myself, and realize this is not craziness, this is power.
Absolutely.
And it's been literally an up and up battle since. I've just been going up and up.
Absolutely. You know, for me, I have that, like, you know, I'm a therapist, and I'm a good therapist for a reason.
Yeah.
Because I also hear and see things, and, you know, people don't always share with me everything. But I definitely have a very good sense of what's going on, you know? Yes. And so it's one of those things where, you know, and things like, you know, being an empath is one of those things that has become like a new, like, buzzword or whatever.
Yeah.
But going back to that self-discovery and understanding what that gift really is, you know, so for a long time, there was a season for me personally where I felt like I was going through a depression, and I gained a lot of weight, and, like, my health really, like, tanked. But I did not feel personally depressed.
Oh, I know that.
Right. So so it wasn't until someone, like, put me to the side, like, are you okay? I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm okay. I'm fine. They were like, you don't look fine. And then I had to do that soul searching of, like, okay, like, what's really happening right here? And what I realized is that I was taking on, like I told you, I'm a therapist. So I'm taking on everybody's problems every day, every day, every day, every day. But I wasn't doing anything to release that. And understanding, like, for me, getting to know myself helped me to realize, like, oh, snap. Like, this energy that I'm feeling is other people's energy. So now I have to create boundaries around myself, around the people that are in my proximity, so that I'm not absorbing things, right? That I am taking the time to release, decompress, connect, on a spiritual level, so that this stuff can get out of me. And ever since I started doing that, the weight is coming off and all that good stuff. Yeah. But I'm taking care of myself. But again, it's that spirit, that deep spiritual connection, because in the natural, it was saying, like, I have high blood pressure, all of these things, right, that the natural is saying. But spiritually, like, taking a step back and looking, like, nah, there's something else going on here, because I feel like I'm under attack. I feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta.
You feel heavy, like, yes. Wait. Oh, I know, yes. That icky.
Yes. Okay, so let's get into it. So when we talk about spirituality, we kind of danced around it a little bit, but what does spirituality mean to you?
If I can just shorten that, spirituality is a state of being, just being in your being. I feel like everybody just thinks it's crystals and tarot. These are just, they're pretty tools, honestly. But the spirit is just learning how to be in your being without judgment.
I like that. I like that. Like I was saying, I was looking into, the different religions and stuff. And I think, like, in the Yoruba religion, they were talking about the neutrality of things, right? That things, it has both negative and positive energy, but it's neutral. And that resonates with me, because a lot of things that happen to us, a lot of our experiences, a lot of the thing, how we judge ourselves, everything, like our thinking, we're so used to black and white thinking, and not really looking at that, like, that neutral space.
Yeah. Because some people think, oh, I'm spiritual, I'm supposed to do tarot. Nah, some people, for me, herbs, that's my baby. Yeah, I could do other stuff, but that's my baby. Some people is art. They speak through their color. Some people speak through their words and being a motivational speaker. Some people speak as a surgeon, as a heart surgeon, being able to have a steady hand to open someone up and replace their heart. It's just so big. It's just so big.
Yes, I love that. And, that, like you said, the God in us that flows through us, that has given us these unique talents and abilities and all of that. And I always say, like, by design, we were designed different.
For sure.
We weren't designed to fit in one little nice, neat box, that's acceptable to society. Understand that we have so many different parts of us, okay, so you laugh funny, you see things, right? Oh, because I see things, that means that I'm crazy. No, it's not.
Like,
okay, exactly. What do you see? And think about it, like, the whole, like, natural world around us, like everything that we use, the chair that we sit on, the tables that we eat on, all of that once existed in somebody's imagination and was a crazy idea.
If that part, everything we are started as someone's crazy idea. Galileo, remember? That's a beautiful science story that's mainstream. Everyone knows about Galileo. They locked him up. He died on house arrest in his house. But the foundation of modern astrology comes from Galileo's crazy research.
Yep. Exactly. So that exploration of self and being centered enough to believe that, right? Like, Christianity says that faith is the evidence of things hoped for.
Yep.
So believing in your dreams.
Yes.
Very simple, right? And so, again, we get into these mindsets when it comes to religion and spirituality, where, you know, being a Christian or whatever the religion you subscribe to, you box in. But there's some universal truths that you see, you know,
No matter
throughout all of these things, you know, and understanding, like, you know, I guess Christianity for me, that's the dominant aspect in my life, but I understand, you know, and it's research for me that I've opened myself up to figuring out how it applies to my life. And I feel like that's what takes it from the religion to the spiritual aspect, because the crux of Christianity is that when Jesus died, he left us his Holy Spirit. Spirit.
This is why even when I'm talking to my clients, I reference the Bible a lot, because everybody in spirit, I see this balance even in the spiritual world sometimes, where everybody's so quick to demonize. I look for the oneness in everything. So I've studied everybody's religion, Hinduism. I found myself learning ancient Arabic, trying to read the Quran. I've read the Quran. I've read the Bible. I have the same background as you with those strong Christian roots. It took me years to unwind that so that I can, but that was my grandfather. But that's the point. It's all in everybody's practice. It all boils down to the same thing: the holy, the spirit, universe, whatever you want to call it, the thing that connects all of everything. Atoms, scientifically, I see the alchemist with the atoms and the sun. It's the one thing that connects us all. That's why a tree literally has the DNA structure that's like 96% to ours. A lot of people, I'm a nerd. I love this stuff. But that's like fact. It's a very high percentage. Like, we're very close to everything around us. It's spirit just communicating. We have to learn how to listen.
Yes. Tapping into that power, you know, that's the battery pack that's in us. You know, it and, you know, in my opinion, you know, I feel like you can't have self without the spiritual aspect of self. And like I said, for Arise Beautiful, that's kind of my lane, where I'm always talking about your self-worth and, you know, who you are, who's your core being, you know, and understanding that your core being was made with intention and with design. You know, so you owe it to yourself to explore who you are and then channel that power that was given to you in the spiritual realm. Like, there is just undeniable that things happen that we can't explain. You know, and the world is yes, spiritual, you know, and so many places where it says that, like, you know, our souls like utter sounds and things like that when we can't even put like language to the way we feel. You know, even language is completely made up and doesn't always justify or can explain some of our experiences.
Yes. The universe is so big. We're so used to compartmentalizing. And I think the compartmentalizing comes from just us trying to understand things that have been lost to us, that have been conditioned away from us. And I say us because I mean everybody. I don't even see, because of my spiritual journey, I don't even view racism the same. Because I see the oneness in all. I see the benefit of every soul that walks on place, everything down to the animals, down to the trees. It's a divine order, a divine oneness that we literally have to learn how to get back to, because we don't understand that compartmentalization. It's why mental health is a thing. It's why it's such a profitable thing. And I mean on a insurance aspect and things like that, because we break our mind apart. Even trauma, as a licensed therapist, you understand the idea of a mind being so shocked that it breaks apart into pieces. And then there's not much Western medicine, because I studied a little bit of Western, but I went Eastern. So there's not really a lot of material that tells you how to bring yourself back into one piece. And I mean, mentally, emotionally. And like you said, it's all full circle. It's the mental health. It's the learning yourself. It's the connection with spirit. It's the way you take care of your body. I have to unwire so many people from thinking that self-love is going out and buying stuff all the time. Self-love is sometimes saying, I want to lose 10 pounds, and getting up and dedicating yourself to work out 20 minutes a day.
Mm-hmm.
Dedicating yourself to stop eating out all the time. That's self-love in its best. You're doing what's best for you, for your spirit, what you want. That's like the ultimate self-love to me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yep. I like that. I like that. Self-love, that it's spiritual, right?
Yes.
Like, self-love is spiritual. It's getting to know yourself and feeding those things that make you who you are. And so, yeah, I love that. Like I said, Arise Beautiful, we like the self-love, the self, like for me, that's important. But in knowing self, knowing your power, your power, and how to take back that power. You said about the mind being fragmented over trauma, like, a lot of that, like in mental health, you see a lot of trauma, you see a lot of almost like programming, wrong messaging that you receive as a result of your trauma and things that you've experienced that almost are like seeds planted to choke out your life, to to choke out your life, like, seriously, and I think it's funny, again, going back to the Bible and that whole idea of, sowing the seeds, right? And some of the seeds being choked up by weeds, this whole concept of, if somebody is to take you out, right? And to stop your shine and to stop you from fully actualizing yourself in this world, the easiest thing to do is to plant a seed, a thought, or an experience in your life when you're young and defenseless that will grow up with you as you get older.
And you know what's funny? That same concept is used all over, and we are so mindless to it, like advertising. Anybody who's a salesperson or a marketer knows this. It's literally placing a fill-in on commercials, and they plant that in people.
Yep.
And then play it and play it and play it and play it. And now you wonder why you walk past McDonald's and you have to have it. You have to.
Yep. So yeah, so that's one of the things that's important with the spiritual work and bringing it back, right? Like, so much work that I do as a therapist is in the thought realm, right? Because you have to realize, like, first, people don't realize that you have the power to think about what you're thinking about, right? But first you have to pause long enough to think about what you've been thinking about. And then once you pause long enough to think about what you've been thinking about, then you realize, like, I think kind of negative. There's a lot of, negative thinking going on in here. And then you start to realize, like, oh, those are distorted thoughts that have come from experiences that I have in my life. And then you begin the process of unpacking those and rewiring those negative thought patterns. But again, for me, what I found as one of the most healing parts is being able to do it from the spiritual perspective, because that, I feel like that is where I see the switch turn on. If that
the long lasting change. Because like I said, my background.
Yep.
I've been so much mental health, trying to understand myself. I've hospitalized. I took medicines. I've been to everybody's therapist. I tried everything, but the only thing that worked was this.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing, sitting down, learning how to meditate. I did a lot of yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Learning how to just find a silence within yourself so that you can be. And it's funny because I literally, as a mentor, as a life coach, this is what I explain to my clients constantly. Deprogramming to reprogram yourself with you. Taking out all of the echoes of the trauma that your mom passed down to you because she didn't know how to deal with it and never figured it out. So that's what she taught you. Same thing with the daddy. It's just passed down trauma, passed down. That's why in spirituality, you hear people saying, I'm breaking generational curses.
Yep.
That is all just programmed behavior and learning how to just stop and be honest enough with yourself to say this. Because I see so many people hinder themselves because they can't say, you know what? Maybe this is my fault. Maybe I was doing too much.
Mm-hmm.
I caused this to happen.
Right.
Even if it's the smallest thing.
Mm-hmm. And you ain't know no better. Like, that's the thing. A lot of times, like you said, these are generational patterns that we are continuing and acting out. And so we don't know no better. So we don't know to do better. Exactly. Until you take that time to be like, man, this is not working. Why? You know, and it goes back to that concept of like neutrality that I was talking about earlier. Like, a lot of these things about ourselves, we may have labeled bad, but in actuality, it's not, right? You know, so it's like, you know, I'm ugly, right? You probably internalize that. People made fun of you because you were ugly and now you're ugly. Okay, what does it mean to be ugly? Nothing.
No one has a definition of that word.
Exactly. Like,
solidified definition of the word ugly.
Right. And it's like, what does that mean? Right? Like, okay, you're ugly. So, like, does that mean that you can't get money? Does that mean that what you have to say isn't important? Like, what does it actually mean to be ugly? See, you filled in that blank, and that's the thought pattern that you have. I'm ugly, and therefore I can't do the things that I want to do. You filled in that blank. Or you allowed someone else to fill in that blank for you.
Yeah.
You know, so that part of self-discovery and then tapping into that spirituality, like, how do I use this? Mm-hmm. How do I use this thing about me? What does this mean about me? You know, like.
Yes. And believe it or not, I've come to find that what you just said, that when that place, when you get like, when you get there, it's the most beautiful, freeing place you can be, because you start to understand that, like, inevitably, it's something I noticed because I subconsciously do it to clients all the time. And then they just look up like, oh, shoot, it doesn't affect me anymore. And I'm like, that was you. You've been deprogramming it. But we find ourselves caught up in this mental pattern, like, oh gosh, I just lost my whole train of thought.
No worry, no worry.
I hate it. Oh man, I should have wrote that down. It was so good. Oh, I lost it. We're gonna come back to that.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. But yes, you know, that for me, and in my thinking, is that it's hard to separate out spirituality from self.
Yes.
You know, it's part of the identity, understanding that there are so many different layers to you. There are so many different parts that you have going on that interact with each other. And it is that the spiritual realm for me is where wisdom flows, you know, where wisdom flows into us. Because in the natural world, we deal in facts, we deal in the reality, we deal in science, quote unquote, the tangible, right. You know, we deal in knowledge, but how do we apply that knowledge is very spiritual.
I agree, because in spirituality, that's when things like discernment comes on. Learning how to, because not everything that they post out, not everything is fact, and this is why black and white never works for anyone.
Right.
It never works for anyone. The
Mm-hmm.
court of law isn't even based on black and white anything. This is why you have to have a trial with a group of your peers to help discern the situation.
Yeah.
It's all full circle. Spirit, I think we forget that. Maybe it's just me and my heavy depthness into the spiritual realm, but I feel like we forget that we are souls, that we are energy beings that get put into a body.
Mm-hmm.
And our identity is way deeper than our physical body, because our existence, our personhood is way deeper than the body that we are in.
I agree. Yeah, I definitely agree. And when we're talking about who we are and our worth and spirituality, it's complex because we're complex beings. It's like our design is complex. It's a reflection of that complexity. You know what I'm saying? And so in that complexity, it's very clear that that was no accident, right? Things didn't just go bang and you appeared. Like that's not what happened, right? And then two, it's also very simple because spirituality doesn't have to be Christianity. It doesn't have to be the religion you subscribe to. It's deeper than that. It's a spiritual connection, right? Like we all know Christians who there's no
bad people.
Right. And they follow the rules. Like you can follow the rules to the T. Like for kids who grow up in church, right? You go to church all your life, all the rules, the ins and outs of the Bible. You had to memorize, 50 scriptures a day, like, and then grow up to not be Christians anymore. And it was like, what were you learning? You were learning the knowledge of the Bible, but you weren't learning spirituality. Christianity doesn't work without spirituality.
Yeah, because it's all based on spirituality. I think the problem with not just Christianity, because I would never single out anybody. I see the problem across the board. Like I say, I study this stuff. I use the Bible for root working and voodoo, and a lot of people do. If you practice, So what people don't understand is a lot of those words that was written in those books are from spirit, and it's symbolic. It's symbolism, and we have taken it to be so literal. It's not. It's none of it is. How can it be?
You're right. And it's damaging to a lot of people who put themselves into that box and don't take the extra step. And this is for all religions, not just Christianity, like you said. When you don't take the next step to understand the why behind your belief, how are you believing in something and you don't know why? Right? Spirituality is the why. It's the why you believe.
That is beautiful.
Like nothing works without faith. Like really.
Seriously. People be like, they come to me all the time. Oh, I tried to do a jar and it didn't work. And I'm like, well, do you believe that you can even have that? Like, truthfully, if we sitting here honest, if you can say, but you don't believe it. It's not your truth yet.
Then you work towards it. You work towards it, because that's the other thing that I tell people, because a lot of people, we like to do affirmations and stuff like that. And affirmations don't work unless you believe them. So you have to craft your affirmation in such a way that you believe it. So you can't say like, oh, I'm the greatest of all time if you don't believe that. You can't say that I am beautiful. Like that's a very simple affirmation. I am beautiful. But if you don't believe that, it's going to do nothing for you. It's going to do nothing for you. But you can say, I don't feel beautiful, but I am learning to love myself. That's you're showing the progression of where you're trying to be, and you're acknowledging where you're at. And so your brain can connect with that and understand, and your spirit connects with that because it's true.
Yes, the truth.
You know, like you're that, and that's the thing. Like, and I tell people a lot of mental health issues is when there's a misalignment with who you are and what you're doing and believing and saying. You know, every time you don't uphold your boundaries and you allow someone to do something to you, right? The reason why you're uncomfortable is because you've dishonored yourself, and your spirit is like, nah, chill. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? That in the throes of depression, when your mind is telling you that you are worthless, right? Your spirit is fighting back, which is why it feels so uncomfortable.
That's why you're so tired. You always feel so energetically drained. Oh my gosh. And then that is so true. That is so true. I'm going to use that.
Yes. You know, so like I said, here at Arise Beautiful, you know, the self is really important, but part of the self is that spirituality and that spiritual journey, in caring for yourself spiritually. And so, you know, just to kind of start to bring it home, you know, what are some ways that people can connect with themselves spiritually?
So, there's a few ways I would say. One of the biggest ones is connecting with your inner child. That's the biggest part of our decision-making skills. A lot of people don't understand. So even as an adult, we all have a trace of our inner child essence, if you will. Connect with that. Take time and like literally inner child. If that's what you have to say to yourself, then let that be the affirmation. Inner child, I love you. You are loved always. Showing yourself that. I would say the next thing would be taking time to just clear your mind. Even if it's 5 or 10 minutes a day, but I don't like to say meditation. The word seems to intimidate people, but just space to find your silence, to just listen to yourself, to be without thinking and just feel. That's ultimately what meditation is, learning how to feel yourself.
I like that.
And then following your intuition, no matter how far-fetched it may seem, that gut feeling that makes you weary, you walking down the street, something telling you, don't go down there. Do that. Actually, don't go. Your GPS says right, but your gut saying go left. Take the left. You never know what you might find down that path of left. Probably the 3 biggest things that I know for me, I do that daily. It's a necessity. So that.
Okay. So those are excellent tips. Excellent tips. Because, you know, like I mentioned before, it's simple. It's simple, connecting with that spiritual part of yourself. You know, as simple as listening to your intuition, right? As simple as taking a moment to kind of clear your thoughts. And what was the third one? The first one that you had said?
Connecting with your inner child.
Yes, connecting with your inner child. Oh, you know, that is so important. That inner child carries a lot of stuff. You know?
Not just bad stuff too.
No,
because that's where the play is at. That's where the fun, the curiosity, all of these great things. Go back, love on it.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, that inner child, like I said, they carry a lot. And so if you care for that inner child, it allows that playfulness to come out. It allows that you know, fearlessness, you know, that comes along with being a child. You know, one of the best things that serves us well is our ability to play.
Yes.
As adults, that's the first thing to go out of the window, is like our ability to play. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when you care for that inner child, it allows you that to tap into that, like you said, that playfulness nature. And when you're able to play, like the whole purpose of a child's play is to like learn about their environment around themselves, and then come up with creative ways to solve problems. Like really, that's what playing is.
It's creativity.
Yes.
It's finding joy in anything.
Exactly.
Imagination. It's
Exactly. And so when you're able to tap into that playfulness, you're able to problem solve and help yourself out of your situation, no matter what it is, and it's very healing. So yes, again, connecting with your inner child, taking that moment to connect with yourself, and then to listen to your intuition, because it's definitely there for a reason. Okay. So again, back to Arise Beautiful, we like to leave our listeners with a little like mantra as you go through your day, an affirmation that you can say to yourself in regard to spirituality. So I like my affirmations to start with Arise Beautiful, because I feel like that is a command to self, right? You're telling your inner self to arise, right? So arise beautiful, giving yourself a compliment, and then adding on your affirmation. So if you want to leave our listeners with a little Arise Beautiful affirmation, what would it be?
good. Arise beautiful. I embody love, and the love that I have for me radiates around me and attracts everything that I ever need.
Ooh, I like that. Okay, one more time for the people in the back.
Arise beautiful. I embody love, and the love that I have for me radiates around me and attracts all that I ever need.
Amen. I love that. All right. So that kind of concludes our discussion. But before we let you go, please tell us where we can find you in your services.
Yes. So like I mentioned before, I'm a doula, I'm a life coach, I'm a nutritionist as well, and a herbalist. So you can find me www.hetheruhealingllc.com. And Het Heru is spelled like Het Heru, the goddess. Hathor. She has another name, Het Heru. So that's me, guys.
Yes. And so I will put all of her information in the info so that you guys can connect with her and see what her services are all about. But thank you, sis, for coming on here and having this conversation with me. And listeners, I hope you enjoyed.
Yes.